So we're missing Carol Black Burrows, and we're missing Cy Michaels. Cy did send a message in that she was in Chicago and would be happy to call in if we would like her to. So if we want to have her call in for the city attorney's visit with us, I'll dial in to her cell phone and just set it right there.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes. So you may remember that Ms. Paez was attending the Southeast Tourism Conference the last time we met here. So it was our first time to meet in council chambers. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty with the recording, so we will have the minutes at the next meeting. We're about halfway through them right now. And financial report, right now we are up to date on our financial report. You guys approved the January through May at the last meeting. January through April at the last meeting. It's only June 6th. We don't have May's numbers completed. So in our next meeting, not only will we have May's numbers completed, but we'll have the first quarter revenues from the lodging tax. So you'll see financial report add revenue to the next time. And then from then on, the financial report will just happen at the middle meeting from now on. So we'll be able to capture the close of the previous month. So on June, at our next meeting on June 20th, we'll approve the financials for January through May, and then once again at the second meeting in July, on July 18th, we'll approve the financials for January through June, and that'll be how we'll proceed. We'll have on a quarterly basis an update of the revenues. So at our next meeting, we'll have first quarter revenues, and it'll probably be August or September before we have second quarter revenues, and that's kind of the way that runs. So are there any questions about the minutes or the financial report? Okay, petitions and communications. First, we want to thank our city attorney, Les Downs. Is everyone familiar with Mr. Downs?
No, I've never known.
He has served as our city attorney since 2012, is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
And advises not only council and staff, but he also is available to the board for whatever your legal needs might be. He's here under specific invitation to discuss our ballot initiative, and we'll turn it over to him in just 1 second. The only other petition or communication I had is we were contacted by Colorado Tourism this week, and they're holding a special media reception in June, and we could send one person, so I've RSVP'd to attend that. It will be to put us in front of 15 different media writers. It's a roundtable discussion for about 2 hours. There's only 8 communities invited, so I'll have 15 minutes to present what's going on with Trinidad. This is one of the things that's coming out of the CRAFT initiative. It generally only includes large municipalities or large tourism or DMOs, so this is our first time since I've known that we've been invited to attend that. So what will come out of that is those media folks that are there, the 15 media folks we'll be meeting with, will schedule tours down here to come actually see Trinidad. So as soon as we finish that media reception and we know of the 15 who we've engaged to come down. Anything else for the board?
No.
Okay.
Anybody?
Okay, then I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Les Downs, our city attorney.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. And I want to begin by saying I have spoken to the tourism board on a few occasions over the years, but never for this purpose. And the subject, and so you know, my understanding of the reason why you invited me here this morning is to talk about the lodging tax and the money, the revenue that you guys are responsible for, which of course is the money that was established, the funding source established by a ballot initiative ratified by an ordinance of city council, and again is the money that you guys have to figure out how to spend every year. But to more narrowly phrase the issue, and that is what is or what are permissible areas for you to spend the money towards or regarding. And of course, the classic examples, or the two examples that have come to light recently, one is salaries for potential
Just starting the conversation with Les.
salaries for either existing or future tourism employees or people that may be hired in this regard, and or something like the trolley. Okay, that's kind of a classic example, and people ask about whether or not it was appropriate to spend tourism dollars on the purchase of the trolley. And I just want to say, before I answer that question, and that is, I'm not here to judge or blame or, anything in the past I couldn't care less about. But now, in going forward, especially since you've asked me, now I kind of, care, and it matters now, especially again, since you've asked me, it matters what you do going forward. Doesn't matter, again, what happened in the past, but it matters going forward. So, to answer the question, or the questions, it is absolutely, categorically, not appropriate to spend money in those areas, okay? And this board, I know a number of you are new to this board. In fact, I think all of you are, if new is like within the last year or two. But so this board and the constituent members before were given a whole bunch of bad advice. And I don't care if I'm quoted. I don't care if, it gets back to the people that I'm talking about. But this board was misled. This board was told to do things that were absolutely wrong, and I would say deliberately and intentionally kept out of the mix because what was done was nothing short of illegal. Again, I don't want you guys to regret having, go ahead, Mr. Crest.
Could you just give us an example of what you thought
I'd be happy to.
Was
illegal?
Right.
Well, okay, so my understanding of kind of the genesis of like the trolley, for example, that is, you have money, you have this pool of money, and we have, thank you.
Those are the charges for the past 2 weeks, if that helps.
Okay, good, thank you. But you have this money, and we have a need, and so we're kind of going to bootstrap this in, and we're going to say that you can spend tourism dollars in whole or in part on the purchase of the trolley. So let me just kind of give you an example. Well, let me actually read to you the language from the ordinance that was adopted that was part and parcel of the ballot initiative. And that is, I won't read all of it to you, but the introductory paragraph, an ordinance submitting a proposal to the register of voters of the city of Trinidad and the general is what you were supposed to spend money on. And I want you guys to know, this is kind of a digression, and I apologize for that, but while I have never been asked to talk to you guys about this, like I said at the beginning, this conversation always happens at the beginning of the tourism season. So I have a conversation with a lot of my colleagues and friends, and it's like, oh my God, it's May, what do we do with that money? Whereas if you had a plan and you had a blueprint and you had kind of, good direction, I guess in November, in December, in January, you'd be like, hey man, let's do what we need to do and advertise appropriately in Texas or wherever, get the other people that aren't stopping and stuff. But anyway, so to answer your question, I think the trolley is a very good example. Now, if you were to take out an ad in some kind of publication in Midland that said, that had the trolley and said, come ride the trolley, that's okay. But buying a trolley is in no way advertising or marketing tourism. And it just isn't. And it's not really a legal definition, although we can say it's a legal definition. It's a common sense, practical, you know it when you see it kind of definition. And what is allowable and what is permissible is a contract for a marketing firm to do advertising and marketing. And yes, I know that we have a bad history with certain contractors historically giving them money, and some have been good, some have been bad, but we had, it's kind of a bad episode with the contractor previously. But anyway, so to answer your question, there are all kinds of examples of what we have done, what this board has done with the money that are just not for tourism. So advertising or hiring someone to help you advertise and marketing and doing those things, even a billboard. I've been told there are 2 billboards, or there were, in random areas in Texas, like on the highway, some highway, whatever, totally marketing, totally advertising. Maybe random locations, but it's advertising and it's marketing. So I just want to say, and this is to impress the point, and that is, you just have never had guidance, or what guidance you've had has been bad, and you have kind of been led to believe that you could.
The trolley was not a good purchase. But in a sense, I see that it is, because those who get on it are possibly seeing our community for the first time.
Yeah,
And that's advertising
right.
them to come back.
Let me read to you, because people have argued that, but my definition of tourism is getting people from without to come within, okay? It's a verb in this context. So if you've got them here, if you have them here, no more tourism. I mean, no, we're not advertising or marketing for people to come here, okay? You got them here, so it's kind of like mission accomplished for those individuals we have here. Now, your point is a good one in that, well, if you give them more to do, or you get them, brought in, or, spending more money, then arguably that's an extension of tourism. It just isn't. Dictionary definition: tourism, the practice of traveling for recreation, the guidance or management of tourists, the promotion or encouragement of touring, the accommodation of tourists. Now, to your point, it sounds like the accommodation of tourists. Okay, but we're talking about advertising and marketing in support of tourism. And I want to say, everything that we had when this was created, this funding source, it doesn't simply say advertising and marketing for tourism. It doesn't say that. It says exclusively for the purpose of advertising and marketing for tourism. So if anybody were able to say some kind of, argument to the contrary, it's like the language is so clear and emphatic that it really, you can't parse it, you can't, it's for tourism. I hope that, yes, sir.
Can I say something to Tom? We were told, when this all happened, we were told the city wants a trolley and you guys are gonna build a trolley. And that's what we were told.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. But that's how it was told to us. We want one, you guys are gonna build it.
I could see the maintenance not being part of the tourism board. I think that should go under the umbrella of the maintenance of the city. They have a shop and everything.
Les, going forward into the ordinance, to Tom's point, section 4746 goes on to say, all revenue collected from such city lodging tax shall be credited to a special fund designated as the city lodging tax tourism fund, which is hereby created. The fund shall be used only to advertise and market tourism. No revenue collected from such city lodging tax shall be used for any capital expenditure, with the exception of Tourist Information Center.
Right.
So
that's it right there.
So it's pretty much in there. So in the past, you sat on the tourism board in the past.
I was on the tourism board in
Yeah.
2001.
Wow.
So what our thinking was at that point, our problem was, and there was the exit right off to the Welcome Center.
The 13th.
Right, so what was happening were people were going to the Welcome Center and McDonald's and not going downtown. So we started the trolley to get them, because the trolley used to start at the Welcome Center. And it came down so people could see what downtown Trinidad looked like and what restaurants were available, other than the fast food restaurants. But Les is absolutely correct. When this was instituted in 2001, we went into that room, had no idea, we had no guidance, never saw a city attorney.
And no money at that time.
Very little money. So what happened at that point, even staff that was available to us were all paid by coffers from other revenue sources. It took us a long time to generate enough revenue.
So now, the money coming out of here to pay for the manager of the Welcome Center shouldn't be coming out of these monies, right?
Correct.
And the monies for the help shouldn't be coming out of there. They have 3 part-times, so that money shouldn't be coming out of there.
Five part-times.
So that money shouldn't be coming out.
So we have 3 points of salary right now.
Yeah.
One is the Welcome Center, one is the trolley, and one is our tourism and media administrator.
So now that we have a clear explanation of it, I think that by Karen, those things should be eliminated from the tourism board.
And you know,
The burden of the salaries.
I think that's absolutely correct. Go ahead.
But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
the reason I would have liked to have gotten on the tourism board is I have seen Monument Lake for all of my life suffer, because it's a city entity. It's never been helped to be advertised, it be recognized. You know, Main Street belongs to Trinidad. You know, which is, those are the points that I feel that, and anything that is brought into the community, whether it be the Blues is an example of one. They use that money for advertising for outside the city to bring people in.
Right.
The same thing with Artocade. The money that's been given to Artocade, that money should be used for outside advertising that event is being held in Trinidad. Those are the things that I feel are that, you ask me, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. in
You
that
are
sense.
right. You're absolutely correct. Anything that is extant, anything that exists now in Trinidad, you can promote, you can blast, you can do whatever you want. And I think you're absolutely correct, Mr. Kress, in that, you know, we talk about the golf course, we talk about Monument Lake, and recently much has been required. I'm just going to use a current example. Much has been required of Mr. Mondragon, and that's okay. He wanted a contract. You know, what's kind of good for the goose is good for the gander, and that is, it might be appropriate to say, would you guys please help promote Monument Lake? Not and the golf course. It also has been discussed widely recently by City Council. But I just want to kind of emphasize the point. It's like if the city were to build a zip line, right? Not appropriate to use your money for a zip line.
No.
But oh my God, if we have it, then you guys can talk about it and let everyone in the world know, and that's what you are to do, what you should do.
So how do we rectify this situation?
Well, okay,
I think
so
that's gonna be on staff.
exactly.
Okay.
City attorney and I will work with the finance director to pull out all the expenditures from the beginning of this year till now.
Good.
And then through the finance director and the have to visit with Mike Dixon, who's still producing the audit from last year, to have the discussion about last year's expenses.
See, that's part of the problem. We just haven't had any control. We've been told to do this, then we've been told you have no money to spend because it's all gone.
It's your money.
And we have not been able to come up with an advertising strategy, with a marketing plan. It's like you got $5,
Right.
spend it well. And it's just been extremely frustrating to do this.
From the time I've been here, I give a lot of credit for just coming in to the knowledge that Tara does have of where the direction should be.
Yeah.
And just with the Craft 101 and the few things that I have been involved in, I think that is the more sensible direction that we need to take.
So to get specific with the financial report, do you mind if we ask you some specific
Not at all,
questions
not at
about
all.
what you think would qualify? So the entire Welcome Center section of the budget, which includes salary, includes operation of the Welcome Center, and includes Welcome Center travel, that would not qualify, is what I'm hearing, as an expenditure, because there's nothing in here about the operation of a city department.
Well,
Do you agree?
I do. I mean, I think it's getting kind of closer, but it's not, they are not entrusted with their money in terms of having the obligation of running the Welcome Center.
Correct.
They have overlapping goals and kind of,
Right.
but it's not,
The question is only, can lodging tax dollars be used to support the Welcome Center's general operation? And what I'm reading and what I'm hearing you say is that that doesn't qualify.
that's correct.
Okay.
Just it doesn't.
So the second one would be the running of the trolley, so that's gonna be storage, it's gonna be maintenance, and it's gonna be salaries for the trolley drivers. So what I hear you saying is none of that would be applicable, but if Tourism Board wanted to contract a marketing entity to produce a new video to market Trinidad that was
Right.
running on the trolley,
That's right.
that would
That's
be
right.
applicable.
Absolutely
If they
correct.
wanted to,
What about signs on the trolley? Because we talked about that.
I would say that's okay. I mean, my previous definitions of discussion notwithstanding, there isn't any kind of, I'm sorry. don't mean to
no,
interrupt
that's
her.
okay.
In your train of thought, but there's nothing that says you can't promote or market or advertise in the city of, still advertising. It doesn't have to be outside of Trinidad. Ideally, I think it kind of is, but you can have signs on there.
So we can put the logo, the Trinidad logo, on the side of the trolley, and that's okay.
Sure.
Signage,
Yep, yep.
Our website.
videos.
Yes, yes.
Things like that. Okay, so more specifically with general operations, our media and tourism administrator, we would not pay her salary from the tourism funds. We could move that to economic development, but what we would do then is all of the marketing campaigns that she's producing the advertising for, that can come
Absolutely.
from, now let me ask you, now I'm gonna get real complicated, it's kind of that payment in lieu of taxes. So let's say Raven spends 4 hours producing an ad on behalf of something the tourism board. The tourism board wants to advertise in a True West magazine. And you can pay this price and True West will do the advertising and graphics, be out of the tourism funding. It would come as an invoice from one department to another, the same way that general fund will charge the landfill, or the landfill will charge
Right.
general fund.
Correct.
Okay. Now, my last technical question is, so all the ads and the strategy that tourism board wants to implement in terms of advertising can come from lodging tax. What if they wanted to work with the state in hiring a consultant to produce a marketing plan? Can planning come out of for marketing come out of the tourism fund the same way planning for capital expenditure can come out of capital?
Well, it depends on what you mean by planning. I mean, if
So a
we're,
consultant that would produce a full-blown marketing plan that would then guide how we implement the tax?
a consultant, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
that totally
Okay, great.
is okay. But what I heard was like planning to hire a consultant. I'm just kind of reminded of like if I were to submit a bill to you for standing right here, I mean, like if we're doing it,
Right.
excuse
You
me,
don't get
obviously
to bill
we're,
us?
right, we're kind of on the payroll otherwise.
But
So
I'm
that's what
talking
I was-
about an RFP to hire a consultant.
Totally appropriate,
Okay.
and that's fine. I just know that at one point historically, there was a consultant that was hired, and it was kind of like an unmitigated disaster.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay.
But we would follow the procurement procedures of the city.
Good, good.
Les, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In the ordinance here on the second page, it talks about, halfway down, which shall contract with a city marketing entity to advertise and market tourism. A city marketing entity. Now, we're involved with the Studio 6 people who everybody knows I can't stand.
Okay.
Their work.
Thank you for that honest disclosure.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So they're not a city marketing entity.
Right.
They are up in Loveland and they have no clue what's going on down in Trinidad. That is the problem with the disconnection we have between them
Right.
and the city of Trinidad. So I'm just, this is in the ordinance, does that mean we should have a city marketing entity?
No, I would say what that means is you can enter into a contractual, relationship with a marketing entity, and once hired, they become the city marketing entity. And I will tell you, and I understand, there have been a lot of, again, historically, a lot of different people. There were people who would say, we're a marketing company, it sounded like to me, in order to try and get a contract with tourism, and they were like, and we're local, and you have to go with us. I just don't think that's true. I understand the complaint about people outside don't know us, and I get it, but
But
I'm
I
just
think
saying.
we need to educate them as to what we want.
Sure, and if you decide to go with this company, you could go with this company, but in response to your question, I would say, once hired, they become the or a. It comes out every year, about this Sunday, it came out a week or two ago in the Sunday paper. And it's advertising for regions in southern Colorado. And you have all these local towns, all these, even Trinidad Lake is advertised in this flyer, not a flyer, but a brochure kind of glossy thing. And we have never, ever had a City of Trinidad thing in this deal. And I've been telling Tara this for as long as I've known. Anyway, it's an example, that's a digression, again, to throw away, and I'm sorry, but you guys, you're gonna do great work, you're gonna figure it out, you have this money, and what a great problem to have. It's just, well, I mean, I can say that because I don't have to do it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The only thing that I feel bad about under this umbrella is, I feel like it would have been nice for us to be able to, like, they bought the art for the Miners Museum, is that what they did?
The city
The
owns the
tourism.
Ludlow Art.
Right,
Yeah,
correct.
things like that for tourism for them to come into. Now, I know there's problems going on with the Mitchell, but I'd hate to see the Mitchell leave. And I think that would have been a good thing for the tourism to be on, but,
Right.
those are just things that I see that we're losing,
You bet, you bet.
that we could have bought, just like Monument Lake, just like the golf course.
Right.
Anything that belongs to the city that should be promoted.
But please hear me, and I understand, but if they're going to go away,
Mhm.
you can't use tourism dollars to save it.
No.
You can, do what you can and try to keep the golf course in Monument
Right.
Lake and promote like
I
crazy those
understand.
assets. But something like that, once it's going, you can't.
Right, that's just my thought.
Sure.
Is that.
We just donated money for the fishing, is that not,
That was my next question
is
is,
that not?
so specific organizations locally come forward for
come forward.
tourism. And I think what I'm hearing you say, Les, is we're going to have to be very careful and make sure
Yeah.
we're funding a certain criteria of their
Right.
request, but not giving them money to just operate something.
Right, and I would say, if you told them, you know what we'll do, we'll take out an ad in the Pueblo Chieftain. You can do that, but money to support or give to them, I would say, is running afoul of advertising and marketing.
No, I could see Santa Fe Trail, we gave them $2,000, but that money should be used for advertising.
Right.
Their
right.
event,
Yeah,
not to run
They're
it.
supposed to give us bills.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Their event to advertise,
Okay.
whether it be in the local papers
You bet.
or outside.
But I would say even there, I mean, you don't know what they're going to do with it. And I trust the Chamber of Commerce and everyone will absolutely do the right thing. But I would say again, you may want to say, we'll advertise for you. We're the repository of that money. You have a fiduciary relationship and obligation to the community to advertise. You really do. You are entrusted with those advertising dollars. So I would say it really is kind of crossing a line of abrogating your authority if you say, we'll give you money to advertise your own event. I mean, I know it is asking for you to do more. It sounds like you're micromanaging.
But it's the right way, and now I
Right.
understand the whole process. Now, I understand it, I get it.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to, I'm not as eloquent as Mr. Downs. And I'm
Thanks.
definitely not as intelligent.
What do I owe you? What do I owe you?
20 bucks.
Oh, it just went up to 50.
That's right, yeah.
Tourist.
That's right, yeah. I paid my insurance first and then.
I got you right here.
Yeah, right. Good deal. All right.
No, but something else, you know, I'm asking a question and making a statement at the same time. When you talk about Monument Lake and the golf course, it's true, the city owns that property, but we are not in control of, we're not in control. The golf course is leased, Monument Lake is leased, so those individuals that are leasing those properties are responsible, not necessarily leasing, but they're responsible for those properties. They're cleaning the property.
The Chieftain or wherever, I know I keep mentioning the Chieftain, but you're gonna advertise and say, come to Trinidad, you know, for Monument Lake. Come to Trinidad for the best 9-hole golf course in, you know, in
Well,
Colorado.
It's
But
part of,
because-
it's part of,
It's the city.
it's part of asking for tourism to come to the city. These are the reasons why we want them
But
to.
Yeah.
because they're on their own entities, we always were in the 7, should not always, but they have to be a 501c3, nonprofit organization
Right,
to give money.
Well,
No,
We're a
there's
city.
Is that
There's nothing
not-
in here
Nothing
that
in
says
here.
that. Okay,
But that's what I always thought.
Right, yep.
But there's nothing in here.
That is a policy
Right,
that we
yeah.
The
created.
policy.
But it is a city entity. I mean, they are owned and operated by the city. So it isn't, a 501c3 is a charitable organization that is independently owned and operated, like the Blues Fest. And you could promote that, I mean, with tourism dollars. It's a Trinidad, you know, thing. You could promote the Mitchell Museum if it was up and running.
So there's no definition saying that we cannot help the golf course or monument.
By
Lake.
promoting and
By-
advertising.
By
absolutely
promoting it
correct,
as a
exactly.
city entity,
No,
even
absolutely
though,
correct.
even though it's leased.
Right.
Just as it's like the Blues or
Right.
Artocade or
Let-
any of them.
Okay, let me say this. Monument Lake and the golf course are city assets, and they belong to the city.
Just
So,
like the community center at the library.
okay, right,
Just
exactly.
like that.
So
Yeah.
you could promote those without reservation or hesitation. You could promote. The Blues Fest and, let's say, well, Arcade,
SART.
right, absolutely, or Santa Fe Trail Days. That is kind of a lower tier, I would say, because those may be all 501c3s, but they're not city, you know, assets. Right, exactly. So it's okay, just know that you're kind of entering into the area of something that is not owned and controlled by the city.
Right.
A lower level beneath that would be like, okay, we have a wonderful restaurant here, let's say Blackjack's is up and going. I won't use any other examples, although I did have one of the best hamburgers I've ever eaten in my life yesterday. But let's say we're gonna promote Blackjack's. So you're way down here now because you are literally in the business of promoting a private company.
Right.
And everyone's gonna come to you and say that's unfair, that's wrong. So you would really wanna be careful before.
It goes back to
you do
that
Right.
fiduciary responsibility.
Right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's why my point is that I brought up to you about the golf course,
Right,
the Monument Lake, and anything that belongs to the city, other than a private restaurant.
right,
You know,
correct.
it is just,
Right.
it is just that, because I think a lot of people, for as long as I've known, have come to Monument Lake from Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, their kids are on their third generation
I
of
had
coming.
them yesterday from
to-
Oklahoma State.
Good.
Yeah, you know, so
Good.
to me, it's part of us promoting our area.
Right.
Well, I think moving forward, we need to stand our ground, and we need to do exactly what Les was saying. We're trying to bring people from without to within.
Exactly.
And that should be that's how we should look at every decision we make. Is this an opportunity to bring people from without to within? You know?
And I do think we've set up the processes within the past 30
Yes.
days that you will be making those decisions. And right now, with the way we've changed to reporting every single penny that's charged to the fund, and you're seeing that, then I think between staff and the board, we've created a dialogue, transparent, in a public meeting to have those discussions. So I do not feel like, Craig, you will ever be put in the position again where it said, the board will do this. And if you are, then you should know that you have access to it. So we won't have that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we, being staff, will begin to work on that. We already gave the finance director a heads up last night. I believe Mr. Downs gave the city manager a heads up last night that we were having the discussion. So we're gonna have to work internally to do that and decide at what point that return happens. Obviously, this year is on the table, but we're in audit for last year. Is that on the table? Are we returning any of those funds? We have a small amount of salary from 2016 that was charged. So I can't tell you, that's gonna be an audit question as much as anything before we start that.
Is there enough money in ED to reimburse you?
I can't answer that question either. Yeah, this was our chance to have but it's a great question, and it will likely not, Visitor Welcome Center will go back to its own department, as it always was before, is what I would recommend, but we'll have to have that discussion. And it'll be an unfunded department at this time, so the general fund will have to absorb that.
But really, going forward, you guys are, you're gonna know, and you understand, and you're gonna get your legs underneath you, and you're gonna, be great going forward. And as you are, don't let anyone ever come before you and tell you anything else. Don't let people tell you that it's not your money. I mean, it's not your money, but it's this board's money, and you decide how it goes. You were kind of given a mandate. This was voted on by the people.
It wasn't decided by 7 city council members.
Exactly, it was ratified, it was put on the
ratified.
ballot, and it was, all that,
It
everything.
was ratified by the individual coming to ask for the money.
Yeah, well, but it was a big thing at the time, and you guys got it, and there were a lot of organizations and entities that would love to have, an independent
And I
revenue
think,
source.
they've got a misconception about the money also. As the past boards,
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
as city council, because it's been interpreted in everybody's own way as to the way
Well,
the
I
money
always
should be
thought that, we
done.
always said we're crossing that line, but we wanted to help our little community because we had the money to.
You bet, you bet.
And now we're gonna feel bad, but.
You bet.
Well, going forward though, that gives us a lot of money to promote
Right.
this town.
Exactly,
this
exactly, that's
So we can
right.
come up with a good plan, we can
Yeah.
come up with a way of bringing all those people here now.
I agree.
Right.
Because we have the money to spend.
And when you do, and when you're able to do this, and you're able to think in, November, December, January, how are we gonna spend this money this year, and what are we gonna do to promote tourism this year? You're gonna be great. You're gonna rock it. You're gonna have this money that you have to dedicate to that purpose, and I think you're gonna be, in great shape, and good luck with that. I don't know what you do, but.
We'll get in the-
Oh, we're having our next
Yeah.
meeting in Mexico, by the way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's how we promote tourism, no.
Yeah, right, that's right, yeah. We'll send a
We're gonna be that,
postcard.
we're gonna be those tourists.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. You would be going from within to without. Yeah, that's right. But thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you,
You bet.
yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you so
Anything I can
much.
do. God
Any other
bless you.
questions for the city attorney?
No,
Well, maybe later on, but.
Great, feel
Yeah.
free. Just-
Thank you.
You bet, you guys,
We'll
thank
see
you.
you, not tomorrow, yes, tomorrow
Right,
morning.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Tomorrow.
I walk, I've been walking the dog. and I-
Yeah, early in the morning,
Early in the
yeah.
morning.
Bye.
6:36.
So staff is working on the business items, which were the homework from the first segment of Crash Tourism. So we've got 3 pieces of homework working on. Right now, we're working on the schedule of outside entities and other commissions and boards to come before you to visit with about what they're doing so that you can start setting your marketing plans for the marketing, what specifically Parks and Rec and Agriculture and Urban Forestry are doing. There's a lot of busyness right now around Space to Create in the 4th of July. So we're likely not going to see those start until the second meeting in July. So at our second June meeting on the 20th, we'll present the schedule that we've got for July, August, September, and October. And we think we can get all the commissions into your meeting during that time. The second thing is, every time we think we finish the stakeholder list, you wanted a stakeholder list of who Welcome Center manager starting on Monday, and I'll give that in my report. She's going to be working on completing that list for us. Yeah, I'll report when I get to that staff report. And then the last thing for the business section is, the last piece of homework that we had was taking that criteria, and after this discussion with Les, I think it's even more important that we take that criteria that was from the presentation we went through, that we add that, so when the next group comes to you to ask for funding, we not only have criteria that meet general tourism rules, but we also advance that criteria to meet the rules of your funding allowed. So one of the larger questions I want to have with Les off the cuff is I see two ways to approach funding local agencies. One would be giving them the money and having them bring forward the actual things they're going to pay for and then collecting the receipts afterward, which you alluded to that in some way you guys felt like that was what was being done. The other thing would be having them bring the advertising forward they want to do in the city, actually putting the ads together and putting them in those publications. So I'd like for you to think a little bit about that. I'd like to think a little bit about it, and I'd like to talk to a few other CVBs and DMOs to find out how that's most effective. I've seen it done both ways in my 7 years. I'm going to use the Blues Fest as an example. For Santa Fe Trail Day, I'll use the Blues Fest versus Santa Fe Trail Day. So for Santa Fe Trail Days, that's not so much a targeted marketing strategy. So we would feel very comfortable if they brought forward and said the Chieftain, the Huerfano Journal, these radio, these local or regional things. I think staff would feel real comfortable. Blues Fest is a specific targeted event, so their money is better spent actually going to the types of publications, blogs, online entities that appeal to that segment.
Can I add something to the Blues Fest? We got a call from the TV station, KRDO, that they want to advertise. So that just happened. My husband is looking at the plan. We're going to be on TV for the month of August. That's something that he's never done before, but we will. We always did with Comcast, but now we're doing with
So what we might.
something different to advertise for Trinidad.
So something that's targeted, like an Arcade or a Trinidad, something that's fleshed out and it is a mature event that's targeting specific. How we may want to fund them is we may want to approve to have them make a presentation of the specific things they want to use dollars for, and then have them go ahead and work with the entities to place those. But I think if you can think about that, I think a hybrid might be the best way for us to go forward over the next year. So that's my feedback on the homework and where we'll be from the last meeting to the next meeting on June 20th. I do want to meet back in here. We're going to have the SurveyMonkey ready to go live for you at that meeting, and we want you to review the survey. And then we'll also have a draft of the tourism assessment. So that's your update on craft.
The one question I did want
Sure.
to